guys, Thalamus time. This is going to be kind of dumbed down and very simple because this is just insanely complex. But this should give you maybe some kind of idea. So let's get to it. This thing really started getting studied like seriously 100 years ago. That's when they started finding all these subnuclei, mapping out the efferent and afferent pathways. The guy who did this is Oscar Bogut, really famous, or kind of famous neuroscientist 100 years ago. Like one of those almost like mad scientists, I think, in Soviet Russia, hidden deep in a building full of brains. And he even studied Vladimir Lenin's brain. They gave his brain to that guy. But so this is like a book from 1920, and you can see they made a little progress, but still had a ways to go. Why I'm telling you this is we've been studying this damn thing for about 100 years, and it is still such a mystery. It's still so elusive and enigmatic. We've made progress, but there's still a lot of secrets in this thing, so I'm not even talking about 1% of it in this video, but let's get to it. Anterior nucleus, I'm just going to talk about functions. So recent memory, emotional tone. Now we have the ventral group. Ventral anterior has to do with motor function. Ventral medial has to do with sensation from the head. Ventral posterior, lateral, somatic sensation from the body, like pain and temperature. Then we have the ventral posterior nucleus, like somatic sensation from the face. Then we have the lateral group, lateral dorsal. It's kind of like the limbic one. It has very strong connections with the limbic system. It's kind of visceral, so I think of it as the limbic nucleus almost. And then we have the lateral posterior. One thing it does is visual discrimination. Now we have the medial nuclear group, or medial dorsal nucleus. It plays a role in memory and I think cognitive tasks. I do know I think when people get lesions, it messes up computational skills. Like they have to count back from 100 by 3 in their lesion here. It's probably not going to happen. We have the midline thalamic nucleus. Among the plethora of things it probably does, they found it's kind of like a hub linking up the hippocampus to the medial prefrontal cortex. It's involved in long-term memory consolidation. And I think it might have some visceral function with the hypothalamus, but I don't know about that. Moving on. Now we have the pulvinar. This is the most complicated, just like kind of scary, complicated, elusive thing. Like all the books just say like, we don't know. Like Principles of Neuroscience with Eric Kandel, I think they're just like, yeah, we still have so much to figure out about this thing. But I do know like lesions mess up your attention tremendously. You get almost like ADD symptoms, but worse. You get neglect syndrome, and I guess it has things to do with language, speech, vision, reading, maybe fine-tuning those, I don't know, but it's a little bit about it. And then we have the old lateral geniculate nucleus, which has to do with vision, medial geniculate nucleus, which has to do with the auditory system. Now I'm going to talk about just one of these things buried in here. I think there's a few, but this is the interlaminar nucleus. It's really cool. It's a non-specific nucleus. Kind of unlike a lot of these. You can find the afferent and efferent pathways with a lot of these. They were doing that in the 20s, but this thing is just crazy. It kind of does what it wants. It can project anywhere. Really, really advanced, and you can't find those things. But we call that a non-specific nucleus or nuclei. So this has to do with arousal, alertness, and kind of heavy-duty stuff. Like according to Gerald Edelman, he thinks it has a lot to do with consciousness. Okay, and to wrap it up, it's just kind of interesting. They found in major depression when they do autopsies, the pulvinar enlarged and all the cells are really dense. That's strange, but this thing holds so many secrets. But that's a quick rundown. Hope I didn't make it worse, but thanks guys. Bye.